How's it going, my fellow parents? Trends is an interesting word. How do you feel about the word trends? Some people really love the words. They like talking about, the latest trends, or this person's trendy, or what is trending in this area. And other people are more like me. It's like, yeah, whatever. Like trends.
Right.
Trends.
Trends are going to just go away.
Right.
I can't stand trends. Do you remember
Right.
I think it's still a thing. It's the, what's the new water bottle that everybody likes? The
Stanley,
the
yeah,
Stanley
yeah.
Cup trend,
Yes, yeah.
And then there was the Tamagotchi trend back when I was little. And then there's
Yeah.
just always a dang trend. And you're like, this is just a way for people to spend money. Like, can we just
It is.
focus on what's real?
It's a way of getting people to talk about things too, like people like us, like media talking about. There's the trends,
Right.
but I could probably bring up some examples right now of how, like, in areas that you're interested in, that there are trends. Like, here's some trends, like almost like even you're a meteorologist. Here's the trends we're seeing, more of this temperature here. Here's some trends we're seeing in the outdoorsman world. So it's like we might not like the word. But
Right.
my argument would be, if it's an area of interest of you, you're probably interested in talking about the moving and the shaking. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I get that. That makes sense,
Okay.
right?
Okay. So now let's talk about this. I found this interesting article by Angela Andaloro, and I was Googling, and I even typed in like top parenting articles of 2024. And here's an interesting article that got my attention. I want us to chat about it. I think we can really learn from what we're about to read. And Jordan and I are going to give you some great tips and encouragement. And I think you'll find we're all here because one thing we have in common is we like talking about parenting.
Yeah. And of course, jumping into a new year, this is a time for us to think about what are some of the trends that we want to get rid of from 2024, or that we want to keep going into 2025.
Right.
So of course, just looking at these topics, we'll go through them, Sean and I.
Yep.
They all make sense to me. So I guess we'll try to pick it apart. Maybe we'll try and look at the good and the bad. But
here's
Sean
the name of the article.
Top 5.
Yeah, here's the name of the article. The article is called "The Parenting Trends from 2024 That Are Actually Worth Taking into the New Year." And then it says underneath it, "Not all parenting trends are built to last." So Jordan, get us started. What is the first trend that Angela is writing about, we're going to see and talk about?
Okay, so the first thing has to do with playing, all right? If you could go back to your early Sean Donohue childhood days, what did a day playing look like to you? Well, I know that's going to change on what age group, but just think about, what did you do when you would play and have fun as a kid?
Well, the two things that come to mind is, one is my organized sports, and two is just the playing around with my friends, with my own siblings, like going around the neighborhood, riding my bike, just playing games, just being alive, looking out at the sky and knocking on friends' doors and being like, do you want to do something, right? That's what I think of.
That's because in that age group that we were just now getting into, like, the Game Boy. Atari was coming out, then Game Boy, then it was Nintendo, and then you've got all the gaming started coming. And that was fun, but that wasn't like our main priority. I still remember to this day my grandma Chris. She wasn't even my grandma, but she would watch us and she would take us over like we were her own. And she had dentures and she would take them out every once in a while and yell at us. And it was really frightening and hilarious as a kid. Yes. But she'd be like, we'd live in Vegas and it was hotter than hot. But she'd be like, go outdoors. You kids are inside too much. Get outside. And we'd go outside and we'd climb trees, and we were bored. We were so bored, but we would go outside and play. And I think that's the big one here she's talking about. It's called unstructured play. So when you're, just for those parents out there listening, kind of think about how you let your kids play, maybe how you were playing and how they're playing, because there's always been those parents who believe in keeping their children's schedules just super packed, right? It's like, okay, we got to go here, then we've got to do this, then they have therapy here, and then they've got practice at this time, and then they have baseball, and that is very structured. That can be good for kids. But what about the unstructured time? Do you ever have downtime for your kids? Right? And there's a quote here. She says, in a world where kids are constantly on the go, rarely get a chance to be bored, right? Like me and Sean were as kids. They rarely get to get out and do things on their own. But in these moments of unstructured play, children then get to tap into their creativity, their problem-solving skills, their emotional intelligence. My kid right now is hilarious because when we say, okay, your tech time is done, within 30 seconds, Sean, he'll come to me and be like, I'm bored.
I know,
because he's not allowing something else to entertain him. I'm like, figure out some way to entertain yourself.
Yes, great parenting right there. Yeah. So here's if you're listening to this, let me poke you for a second. Let me try to poke you. Let me get your attention. Okay, we got these two extremes of parenting, and neither of them is good, neither of them bad. You get to decide where you're at. On one, we have hyper-scheduled families. I mean, there are some children, there are some teenagers that do something 5 days a week and maybe even 6 days a week on the weekend. And these families, they do this because, Jordan, they say things like, look, I'd rather have my kids doing activities versus being a couch potato. I'd rather have them doing activities versus being on screens.
That's true. If you keep them busy, they stay out of trouble. I mean, think about when we were younger and you came to me with Campus Life. You kept us busy.
Yes, lots of activities.
Which kept us out of trouble.
Right, so this is good. But now what we're seeing from many authors, including the premier, I think, author of 2024, whose name is Jonathan Haidt, author of The Anxious Generation. We have all these experts telling us, hey guys, our kids actually need unstructured play. And so if you're one of those like tiger moms or hyper scheduled moms, you got a beautiful, beautiful calendar, color coded. You've got experts saying, hey, I think you should really look into not scheduling your kids so much and letting them play. And then you're afraid. And you're like, what? Well, what are they kids to do then? They're just going to argue about screens.
Or beg, right.
Or beg.
Get on tech, correct.
And so it's like, this is like, screens are the parenting challenge of our generation. And so we can't think about unstructured play without thinking about screens. And so this is a good time. Let's just spend a couple minutes before we go to number 2. Let's talk about healthy, practical ideas for unstructured play. I'll get it started since I already have some thoughts, and I'll let you gather your thought. Okay, so I think that when your kids are under age, like 10, I think everyone should think about this. Think about giving them 0 screen minutes a day. Just an idea. 0.
What do you mean by that? 0 screen minutes? Literally, like you cannot look at a screen all day.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, no screen time. It's not for everybody. This is how we raise. This is how we raised our kids. We're like, no, screen times are for the weekend. So what that means is that your kids are going to be possibly bored, but what they're going to do is, if they were raised that way, they're going to be good at just playing by themselves or playing with their siblings, playing with their neighbors. They're going to say things like, can you sign me up for soccer? Can you do this thing? So you'll have this mixture. I think that would be what I would see as the goal. Like, how do we have a mixture of unstructured play, which is organized outdoor play? Now, let's go to the tween years. I think tween years, we're talking tweens, so right before teenagers, it seems like this is a great time for our kids to be outside. Because when they're younger than that, they need to be supervised, right? Not get hit by a car. But now they could be on bikes, they could be on scooters, they could be even going down to the local market to go get some junk food. They can be out there.
Dude, I remember in 4th grade, this kid in the neighborhood had a go-kart, and we'd ride his go-kart around the neighborhood. It was so awesome.
So again, there's like an argument, there's a fear for everything I'm saying. I get it. I am an everyday parent too. Like, I'm afraid my 11-year-old might get kidnapped.
Sure.
What are you talking about? Having my 12-year-old out there with their friends, no one's watching them, no parents supervising them, they're up to no good. But putting them outside, and that could be just taking them wakeboarding, taking them skiing, snowboarding, getting them outside. And then the teen years, you really want to push someone's buttons. Think about this. What does unstructured play look like for teenagers? You know what it looks like is they're coming over to your house and they're just doing nothing. They're talking, they're jumping on the trampoline, they're on their phones, they're hanging out, they're eating, and they're in your backyard, or they got their licenses and they're driving around town, and you say, where are you going? I don't know. What are you guys doing? Nothing. And that's literally unstructured play for teenagers. They're just being together, and there's nowhere. And I know these is pushing a lot of buttons, right? These are creative ideas for unstructured play.
I like it. I mean, obviously that can be challenging for some. For me, unstructured play sounds like an adult chore. And the reason I say that is because whenever I do unstructured play, it's like on me to come up with the idea. Right. And I've tried so hard to be like, and up to this point, my kids are 10, going to be 11. I've been like, okay, I have the weekend. What am I going to do? Because I got to keep them busy, right? We're going on a hike. We're going to go play disc golf. I got to get them outside at least during the day, right? And that's on me because I just want to make sure we're not just stuck at the house. But what you're saying is, Jordan, you need to maybe step back on one of these days and let them be bored and come up with the decision, right? because I'm taking a lot of that weight on my shoulders, which I like because I like being a fun dad and doing things, and I'm a big doer.
Yeah.
But you're also saying like maybe when you have to clean the house, or you're doing the oil change, or whatever task you have to do, and the kids come up to you, be like, I'm bored. What do I do? You'd be like, I don't know. Figure it out yourself.
Yes, and just sit in that patience and just be patient. Don't let it get to you. Now, this is all easier said than done. Like for me, our goal here at our house, Jordan, and I hope you all try to make this your goal. Make your house the fun house. So the kids can come to your house and just exist. And they can eat your food and they can be together in the safety of your home.
Right.
And you're going to limit their screens and they're just going to be there. And they're going to maybe, if they're younger, they'll go run errands with you, or they'll hang out in your backyard, or they'll play games, and they'll find something they like doing together. And so that's the tension. Whenever someone says unstructured play, it's like, this is easier said than done. This is confusing and stressful. Unstructured play is stressful for parents. Right?
I remember in 5th grade, we would build like a fort. Like we brought nails and we brought some old wood.
Yes.
And we built this little fort. I mean, it was terrible, but I've done that with the kids too, where they'll just kind of create something. I'm like, wow, you guys created that whole city like outside? That's cool, because they had unstructured play.
These are really important stories you're telling, because those, like, once upon a time, there was a lot of, in the 80s and 90s, into 2000s, there was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds. They didn't have phones. That's us. I'm talking about us, everybody. And we all found ways to be unstructured. We would walk in the mall or the local mall. We would go to the park. We would sit on the swings and talk. We would play, like soccer or football, t-ball, handball.
Handball was
Right.
Foursquare.
And so, all right. So let's talk about the number 2 trend is a new term. So have you heard these terms? Like lawnmower parent, helicopter parent,
right?
Passive parent. So we got a new term. Tell us about trend number 2.
Okay, so this one is for all you lighthouse parents. Okay, lighthouse parent. I'm just like swiveling
What does
head,
that mean?
right? Like I'm thinking of a lighthouse. It's just like a beam that just circulates, and then every once in a while goes. Brr, brr.
That was good. That was good.
Okay, the term it's been more recent of a trend.
Okay.
All right, and it has its appeal. So this is you as a parent being the lighthouse figure in your child's life, right? You are reliable and you give good guidance, but you allow them to navigate, let's say, their uncertain waters independently. So you're there as like, hey, I'm the lighthouse. Here's the ship coming. You could see me. I'm giving you a warning, but dude, Captain, you're on your own. Like, I'll let you run right into me if you're going to continue to steer that ship this way. So you're there to give guidance and to give, the North Star, so to speak. This is where we are, but I'm going to allow my child to do and handle this situation. In one of the more recent podcasts, I was talking about a situation that my son was going through, where he was kind of getting picked on at a sport, and he kept coming to us and wanting to handle it himself. So it was kind of cool because we want to allow the kid to handle it himself, but we also want to step in when the time's right.
Yeah,
you don't want to be that parent that's the helicopter parents, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to handle everything, and that's the term where you're literally not letting your kids do anything, right? And so this lighthouse parent is maybe something we want to kind of learn how to become, because it gives them their independence without you stepping in to figure out any problem for them. Trying to look through a couple other notes from the article. The goal is to raise kids who are independent, capable of reasoning and handling a problem that arises in their daily life on their own, while also being happy and not super anxious, right? So there are times when us parents need to step in, but there are times when us parents need to not step in.
Oh, well said. Okay, I got some stories from some clients I'm working with, and I got some ideas right now. I don't know. I wasn't planning on like trying to be a cactus and poke people, but let me now poke number 2. All right, let me poke. Okay, so we all think that sounds great. Lighthouse parent. Let's do it. What does it even mean though in everyday life, right?
Right.
Because everyday life, if you're a helicopter parent,
you're looking for results. You're like, if I'm a helicopter parent, I see something happening, I'm going to handle it right now so that's done.
You don't mess around. And you're probably parenting out of fear that if you didn't helicopter, your kid would fail.
Right, and you're not. Yeah, you
actually
think
like,
you're helping them.
Yeah, that whole term, like, let kids fail, I don't like that term. It doesn't make sense. People don't even know what it means. And, like, what does that even mean? You're going to let your kid fail out of the 4th grade? Are you going to let your kid fail out of junior year? Like, that's not good parenting. Like, that's right.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Maybe it's just let your kids try.
You're going to let your kids
attempt.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The whole term, let kids fail. Like, what the hell does that even mean? Like, okay, like, can you be more specific? So I think that we need to come up with better terms when we talk about parenting. So here's a couple thoughts on lighthouse parenting, all right? This is a rhetorical question. So everyone think, how would a helicopter parent handle an email home from a teacher? How would a passive or avoidant, uninvolved parent handle an email home from a teacher? I think a creative way that a lighthouse parent, I'm just roasting that term, is the term of the day, lighthouse parent. Something creative that I've helped a lot of families with is, like, if you're getting emails home from from teachers, instead of you just taking charge and emailing the teacher back, instead of you thinking like, okay, this is your problem to solve, think about engaging your child in the response back and ask your child, how am I supposed to respond to this? How would you like to respond? I would like for you to co-write this email. Like, see how lighthouse parenting, when I think of parenting, a phrase that I'm really a big fan of is the term a wise sage. You've heard me say that before, right?
I think, yep, we have.
So like a helicopter parent would be setting up play dates for kids versus a lighthouse parent could be like, no, you should ask your friend for their own phone number and you should set it up. I'll help you. But you've got to ask. A helicopter parent would be ordering food for their anxious teenager who doesn't want to tell the person at Jimmy John's that they want the number 7.
Right.
Versus a lighthouse parent's like, no, I won't be ordering for you. If you want any food, you're going to have to order yourself, and I don't want to have a scene when we go in there, right? And if you're not ready, this is what it means to be 12. You order for yourself. It's like, do you like where I'm going with this, or am I being weird?
Yeah. No, you're making sense. It's like, the hard part is like, you don't know what you're going to be like as a parent, right? You're like, I just know I want to be a parent. So then you have kids and you're like, okay, great. I want to be a great parent. And then you're like, oh my gosh, you take ownership of these kids and you don't want to fail them. You're like, I just don't want to fail. So I want to make sure I'm doing everything right. And so with that, we do everything because we want to succeed. But it's almost like we have to fail ourselves so that we succeed in parenting. And that means, Dad, can you get me water? I'm really thirsty. What are you doing? You've got 2 legs. Yeah. Like, sure, I can get you water because I love you, but why don't you get up and get water? You're not doing anything right now, right? Like, it's just little things like that where you allow them to do things on their own. And this would be maybe a hard situation. They're going through a problem with a kid at school.
Yep.
And Dad, can you call their parent and talk to them? Well, no. How long has it been? Have you handled it? Have you talked to her? Have you talked to the teacher? Have you tried to figure this out yourself, right?
There's a couple that I just recently helped. Long story short is they've got I think it's 9 or 10-year-old boy who's having some pretty severe anxiety, even like anxious breakdowns. Like, come pick me up from school, going to the school counselor every day, refusing to go to camp on a Saturday. You with me? And so just like many modern good parents would do, they're like picking this child up from school. Like, what's going on? Are you okay? Okay, we won't force you to go to school today. That's like pretty modern parenting. Would you agree with that? Like, just trying to be flexible, trying to care, trying to coach, but confused as crap because, like, why is my child going to the school counselor every day and he's 10, right?
Right.
Like, what's happening here? Like, and so I wouldn't. This is just the advice that I gave for this specific family.
Sure.
And I gave them pretty strong advice. Some of the advice that I gave, I said, let's try something different. One, here's what I suggest. Stop having that child go to their school counselor. Say, you're no longer allowed to go. Number 2, stop sending the child to the therapist. Number 3, say, look, we're not going to force you to go. But if you don't go to school, well, then you're not doing your job. Your job is to manage your mental health. Your job is to use the tools that you've been given. and your job is to go to school. And if you don't go to school, well, then we're going to hire a tutor to come to be there with you that day because we work from home. But you haven't earned any TV time for a long time, or for that day and maybe longer.
Sure.
Because you're not doing your job, which is to step into your scared and your fear. And we're not going to send you to this. We're not allowed to just go and just anytime you get emotional, go to the school counselor anymore. And we're not going to send you to this therapist because there's nothing wrong with you. We're not going to put this label on you because the therapist was putting all these labels on a 10-year-old. Now, I don't know if I told that story well.
Yeah, but you never told that story before. You told a story.
It just happened. It just happened.
Once the kids get this label, they're going to run with that label for maybe their whole life. Well, I'm, blah, 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 or, they'll have a term.
Must be afraid of these labels, or the therapist or the school counselor, the labels that they put on children or teenagers can be devastating.
Because then they don't get to be what they want to be and grow up to be however they feel like they should. They're like, well, I can't because I've got blah, 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 blah. And you're like, who told you that?
Who told you that? And so the reality is that you're feeling anxious and nervous because it's scary.
School.
Being 10,
it's
it's
scary.
school.
Sure.
But you know what? You're brave, you're courageous, and you need to go to school. And we're not going to allow you to not go to school, and we're not going to be picking you up. But we're not going to force you. But if you don't go, well, this is how we're going to respond. Now, I think that's lighthouse parenting, because what does the lighthouse do? Lighthouse sends a beam about this is where you should go. Beware of some of the things around you, and here's light. And so I think that's that story, I think, is an example of how to be a good, strong, firm, loving parent.
Just wrapping up this story real quick, were the parents receptive to that advice?
So one of the reasons why I moved forward with that advice is because they had done something like that with this child 2 years ago, and he responded very well. And so it was all scary for all of us. We said, let's do it. And then, of course, my phone was just blowing up every day since then, being like, we have a different kid in our hands. This is incredible. Thank you so much. It's working great.
Nice. Okay.
Right?
Nice.
And if it
Good
didn't
job,
work
man.
great, then we would have made pivots, right?
Yeah, right.
But what do you do when your kid forgets their sweater, forgets their lunch, wants to get picked up early because they're anxious, they're nervous?
Good point.
What does a lighthouse parent do? Just think about that as we move to number 3. Now, number 3 trend, a little transition into, has a pretty good word. We've talked a lot about, in the parenting world, we talk about a lot about the word empathy. The empathy is this, interesting word that's you want to feel with someone. It doesn't mean you feel for them or you feel what they're feeling. It's you validate their experience and you see it. And that's kind of a part of the backbone of the gentle parenting or the positive disciplining movement. So here is what the author talks about, a trend that may not go away. The author calls it empathy-informed parenting. Let me explain. She writes, embracing the empathetic approach nurtures parents' mental health at the same time as their child's by encouraging emotional regulation and self-compassion. Ruta explained, adding, the shift not only reduces parental stress and anxiety, but also builds resilient and emotional well-being for the entire family heading into the new year of life. She later writes this, amid this more significant parenting trend, microtrends, such as calm corners, that is definitely a trend right now, the old calm corner. Have you heard of that?
No, never heard of that.
Are popping up to help reduce the emotion, to help reinforce, the emotional skills at the core of raising an emotionally intelligent child. A calm corner is designed to give children a space to feel and process their emotions in a quiet space. This teaches kids that emotions are manageable and that taking a pause to reset and normal and healthy. Caitlin Slavin, psychologist, quotes. All right, so let me just explain. Go ahead. You
okay.
Go.
Well, my question was, this would be an example of what's wrong? You're crying? Well, get over it, Or what's wrong? Talk to me about it. Let me feel what you're feeling and help you get through it. Is that the difference?
Yeah, I like that. It's also like this. Hey, what is going on? I know you just got home from school. You need to eat. And no, you can't have that. Okay. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take your snack and we're going to go sit in the calm corner. And I'm going to sit next to you. And we're going to calm yourself down. And I'm going to be calm. It's just like that.
Okay.
It's like,
that's
hey,
the calm corner.
the calm corner is not a timeout. It's a different way of looking at the timeout. It's like a time in. And then the way of thinking of it, maybe of a teenager, instead of go to your room, or what are you doing? Go to your room. It's more like, hey, why don't you go to your room and calm down? No, I need you to go to your room and calm down. Take care of yourself. Go have a snack, and we'll talk later. See how there's empathy in my tone and the word phrasing? And it's just a slight difference, but still can produce positive adult results. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
Because when you're giving those examples, I'm getting anxious as a parent. Like, I'm getting mad at you.
Why?
Because I'm just like, if a kid is throwing a tantrum and you are showing this empathy,
right?
I'm to the point where I'm going to grab you and throw you across the room.
Me, the kid or the parent?
The kid.
Right. Well, that's
right.
That's what,
I don't have time.
Right. Good
to
honesty.
Empathize
Good
with
honesty.
the kid who's going to throw a tantrum every day about something so stupid.
Great honesty.
And I'm not going to sit in the damn calm corner with you.
Don't
right?
you dare judge what Jordan's saying right now. If you are
don't
judging,
judge me.
no. If you are judging what Jordan's saying, you need a wake-up call. This is everyday normal parenting. If you agree with what Jordan just said, I want you to continue. This is how it is for the majority of parents. It's like, I'm so annoyed by this. You annoy me. You bring out the worst in me. You're whining, you're complaining, you're picking on your sibling. What the crap? You're arguing about screens again? Like, this is why.
I see parents come down on their kids' level. You're supposed to come down on their level so that they can feel eye to eye with you. And you're supposed to talk with them about why they're acting like this.
Yes.
And what I see
now
is kids run away from their parents that are doing this and give them no respect.
Right. And that's
and
not
like,
good
kids will
parenting.
be kids,
that's
you know?
passive parenting. That's
it's
letting
so
the children
frustrating.
disrespect you is not what we're talking about here. I love the honesty. This is maybe the highlight of the episode, what you just did. It's like that fine line between how to be that calm, connected, empathetic parent.
Right.
But you do not let your kids just disrespect you and walk away. It's like if you say go to the calm corner, we're going to the calm corner. We're going.
This is so important. This is why it's so important to have like two parents, because you can, if one's getting a little heated, the other can step in and be the firm, calm parent, right? Because I see that balance in my life a lot. I'm like, I'm gonna snap, okay, you'll jump in, or I'm gonna snap, okay, I'll jump in.
Yeah, my team and I, we're developing some resources that we're gonna give away for free as just stuff that people can give their kids, whether they're teenagers or kids, for like calm corner type stuff. It's almost like this.
Lollipops and like Jolly Ranchers.
No, like actual like good mindfulness stuff, man. No,
I'm totally.
No, it's all good because it's actually a skill. Like, you know, parents or teachers never homeschool school, so who's going to teach your child the arts of self-soothing and self-regulation? Because if they're all getting hot and bothered because they got to freaking brush their teeth and they can't have 20 cupcakes for dinner, and they can't stay up late playing some dumb video game, they need you to be the adult in the relationship to regulate yourself and show them you can go to your metaphoric calm corner, so then you can help them go to theirs. But then it's like teach a man to fish. The goal is to not teach your child, like, you know, to command your child in the heat of the moment. The goal would be to train your child so that they have these tools and they use them. So if your child doesn't have tools, there's only one person you should be looking at. It means you need to up your teaching game.
Yeah, and I appreciate, like, let's say people like you, people that are coaches that help adults become aware of whatever topic it is: love, money, finances, relationships, parenting, right? And you guys have that empathy. And to me, I'm like, gosh, it takes a special person to be able to get there and talk to some of these people that just like either can't figure it out or not doing it the right way. But you guys have so much empathy, and that's kind of the model that you're saying for
we're all here because we're all like,
right.
I call myself a recovering avoider, so I wouldn't yell or snap at somebody. I'd just freaking slither away, a little snake. And that's not good either, you know?
Yeah.
Like I got my own crap. I'm not like, I'm learning as I go. Okay, let's go down to the next trend. Is really interesting, especially for me as being a social media content creator. So before I tell you about it, Jordan, do you have any like family vloggers that you like to follow? As in, like, it's normally a mom with her children, but sometimes it's a mom and a dad with their children. So they make videos on TikTok, Instagram.
I hate it.
And
my kids love
matching
it.
outfits.
My kids love it.
Okay, why?
My kids love it.
Why do they love it?
Why do they love it?
Yeah.
Of course, I can't remember their names right now, but Do you know who the Ninja Kids are?
No.
Okay, well, the Ninja Kids are these group of kids that are like gymnasts, and they go out all the time. And
Cool.
so they liked them when they were little. And then there's another girl that they watch, her and her dad do this stuff, and like watch them, and it's kind of cute. But I'm like, this just drives me nuts. The cameras are on all the time. But you know what I really like? I don't know if this would count. Like Dude Perfect.
Dude Perfect.
Like they started doing trick shots, and like those are the type. Of
But but they don't put their kids.
No, but they do the vloggy style. I don't like the parent-kid combo. It's weird
there's a
to me.
backlash now going on this. So I'm
it.
actually in this space. My wife and I have put our children in our videos before. We're not vloggers. We don't force our kids in our videos. We've been very sensitive to the topic when many parents have not been as content creators. But here is what's going on. Trend number 4, there's pulling back on sharenting. I've never heard that term before. Have you heard it? Sharenting. Essentially what it is, after years of mom bloggers, vloggers, influencers, and more spilling all manner of information about their kids, people seem to be more careful and intentional about their kids' online presence. It's partly because generation of parents is well versed enough in the internet to understand the repercussions of specific actions. I don't want to just keep reading this because I don't need to read it. I have personal experience with this. Like, I have personal experience having a teenager who doesn't want to be on any of my videos and any of my stories and doesn't even want to take a picture with the family. That's normal right there. I have personal experience with children being like, can you not film right now?
Right.
And so I don't need to read anything. So imagine yourself and you're a child and your parents are YouTubers, or your mom is trying to make you wear all these outfits and take pictures for her stories. Some of you don't need to imagine that, but here's from someone who's been there, who's caused some harm, who's trying to figure this out myself. This is a wise trend. We've got to pull back on the sharenting. And when you look at that, like 3-year-old you have, when you look at that 13-year-old, remember that's a human being with their own boundaries. And just because you want to take a picture with them, just because you want to put it on Instagram, just because you want to make a video with them, it doesn't mean they want to do that. And that you've got to really check yourself. What do you think about this?
I mean, I think it's wise, especially with artificial intelligence coming out right now. I mean, the future is extremely scary about what is already online and what they have access to. But I remember the kids would watch this little kid. His name was like Ryan, and they would just go play on playgrounds. Oh. It was like little Ryan's.
Is it Ryan's toy review?
Yes, but it just started out with.
And now he's like 14. He's still playing with toys.
Correct.
And they're still probably
now
making.
He's making bank. But
Millions.
It was weird because they would start out with him playing on a playground, and then it got into, all right, let's play with toys.
Right.
And it was like, it's just weird because you're having your kid do all this stuff, and now the kid's kind of famous, but we know what happens to child actors, right? Look at the history, right, of all these child actors that were famous as kids, and they get kind of a time where they get screwed up, and I just feel bad because I'm not saying that's happening to all these kids, but it is weird to me.
Super weird. That's why we just need to be aware this trend should not go away. So let's talk about what you just said. So I love to bash on California politics. I live in California, but the reality is that a lot of stuff does start in California, New York, and some of it is really shady and some of it is good. This is good. So with the help of Demi Lovato, I'm not going to get into the details of it, but did you hear about the big bill that was turned into a law and in
California only?
Yes, to protect children from their parent vloggers. So essentially, there's going to be more laws, but it would make sense that in the state that produces Hollywood, that has laws around child labor laws, that now the law is that 15% of children's and teens' earnings need to be placed in a trust to be untouched by their 18th birthday. So essentially, if you are a vlogger and you're forcing your kids to be in your videos, and they might end up hating you for it, look just like, where there's that one blonde woman with like a half white, half Asian husband, and they had like 12 kids or something. Remember that?
Oh.
And they divorced.
That's right. Gosh, what was their...
And like all the kids, like,
that show.
I guess
that was a reality TV show.
Yeah, very popular. But I guess
it wasn't Will and Kate +8, was it?
Is that it? It probably is. I'll Google it as you talk.
Anyway.
But yeah, like the reality is that a lot of these children, they end up not liking their parents.
Sure.
and being forced to be on camera. And then what California's trying to do is like, they're saying, okay, I can't really help you with that, but what I can do is I can create a law that the bill specifically states that children under 16 should receive 50% of influencers' gross earnings if they appear in 30% of monetized content online. So I remember, like if I get a brand deal, which I'm very picky with my deals, these companies will pay me lots of money to do one video on social media. And if I want my kids to be in it, I will offer them money, a lot of it.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, for me to make this video like really good, you need to be in it. So like I did an anti-vaping video for like the Drug Council Against Vape, and I said, girls, do you want to be in it? And that one teenage daughter who never wanted to be in any videos, she's like, yeah, if you're paying that much. So we all made money to make an anti-vaping video. And I said, are you sure? Like, you sure you want to do this? Think it through. Yeah. Think it through. So that's a cool thing. So everybody be wise about the future of about how you're putting your kids, but also be wise about what content creators do you want to support? Do you want to support content creators when they might be forcing their kids to be on camera? Yeah,
that's a good point. Very good point. And this will kind of lead us into topic number 5.
Number 5.
That's okay.
Let's do it.
And this will be the last topic that we talk about. These have all been great, but this one is interesting too, especially with everything we've talked about. This one highlights letting our kids lead with their interests. So think about in the past, kids had their whole day laid out for them, right? And we talked about this, over-parenting and over-scheduling. You've got sports, you've got tutoring, after-school program, ASP, coming home. Okay, get on chores, let's go. You got homework, let's go. But now parents are becoming more comfortable with letting their kids build their schedules, their own schedules, and maybe, allowing their interests to unfold. Hey, I try to give my kids, I'm like, hey, listen, I don't care what you do. Yeah. But you got to do at least 1 or 2 things.
Love it. Right? Great tip. That was my tip. You stole my tip. Best tip. Please continue. Okay. That's the best tip.
That's just been a rule.
It's the best tip.
Let's try volleyball. Let's try basketball. Hate that? Okay, let's try art. Let's try piano.
Love it.
Just try horseback.
Love it.
Let's try something. One of the things we did with my son, gymnastics, and boom, that stuck. So we
cool. Okay. And now he's rocking it, man.
He's rocking it. And our daughter's like, I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm like, great. You're like the free-flowing, like, let's do a bunch of stuff. And it's cool because then they can figure out what they're actually interested in. And I do give my son a chance, like, hey, if you want to bow out, you can. You're really great at this. And
great
I'd love
parenting.
to see you succeed.
Great parenting.
But you need to do something else.
Let me be a cactus real quick, and let me tell you a short story about how I made a grown man cry last week.
Oh, just last week?
Yeah. Okay, now imagine you're this grown man, and you're a great man. You're very successful in your career, and your kids play a sport. We'll call it, let me pick the sport that I wasn't, I'll call it lacrosse, right? And you grew up playing lacrosse, and now your kids are playing lacrosse. You with me? But you grew up, and your parents were not involved in your lacrosse. They didn't come to any games. They didn't push you. They didn't mentor you. You were alone on the lacrosse field. And now you're a dad, and your kid is playing your sport that you excelled in, and you excelled in it without parental support. You did it on your own. And so now, tell me about this dad, Jordan. Tell me about what he feels when he's watching his son on the field, when he's coaching his son, when he's cheerleading his son. What do you feel? Tell me.
Dude, that feeling of seeing your kids succeed and especially if I think of let's say a pro football player.
Yeah.
Right? And then their kid is doing, think about the Manning generation, okay? Yeah. His dad, Archie, and then you've got their kids
football
and they're
players,
thriving.
The Mannings. Yes.
And you're like, this has got to be an amazing
It's like
feeling.
a dream. It's like a dream. I don't know that feeling I don't really, but that's okay. It must be an amazing feeling.
And I remember seeing this one. It was like one of those hillbilly videos. I don't know why people don't like having kids. You have yourself a kid, you got a lifetime fishing partner. I'm like, dude, that's so good. Like,
if it's true, if
your kid likes fishing, you're right. You got a lifelong fishing partner. And if they like what you like, it is the coolest thing to experience that with your child.
I was just talking about this in my VIP membership today. I said, you have something special in your home. You all love sports, and all 4 of your kids love sports. That must be so special. The reality is that most of us that don't have that experience, our kids do not adopt our passions or
Right.
what we wanted. That's more reality. And so here's what happened. So now imagine that you're this dad and your son is now getting older and he's not as interested in lacrosse. He doesn't really want to go. He said, I'll go if you want me to go. And he's not as enthusiastic and his heart is changing. What are you feeling now as a dad? What are you feeling?
Yeah, you're feeling like heartbroken. Like, oh, you probably are feeling like you failed in some way. You're like, wait, they don't like what I like. I must be failing. Why don't you like what I like? Was I too overbearing? You know, did I force you to do too much? Like, why don't you like this sport? This is a fun sport.
Gosh, well said. And you're also wondering, what do I do? Do I push him?
What do I do?
Because I pushed him before and it worked. And when I do push him, it works. But he's older now. If I push him, is he going to resent me? Am I being weird?
Well, and it's like, is this a decision where it's like, no, I need to be a parent that's smart? Like, let's say a kid is 16 and has been playing a sport for several years, is awesome. Let's say it's baseball, is getting looked at from colleges, and the kid's like, I'm ready to quit.
So confusing.
And you're like, whoa, dude, you're almost on the cusp of maybe doing something amazing. You got to keep doing this.
Right.
Versus,
or you say, look, you know what? You're your own man, and if your heart's changing, I want you to be happy. If this isn't making you happy anymore, then change. It's okay. You're not professional at this sport. So I looked the man in the eye, and we're really going through it, right? He was in my membership, and I said, look, I think what's happening right now with you, I think you're learning to parent the child you have, not the child you want.
Yeah, you're getting a reality check.
And he started crying.
He did. Oh.
Because he's just, kind of grieving,
Yeah.
And that's okay to grieve. It's okay to grieve that your child is not your little mini-me. Your child is not your bonsai tree. And if you had that experience for 13 years, then it would be even harder. It might be easier if your child was like different than you right off the bat. And then by the time they're 13, it's like, oh, now we have something in common, right? Right. So I think that the best parenting tip that I could give in this genre is like, look, you have to be doing something. And whether that means year-round or not year-round or 2 sports out of the year or 1 day a week or this. And what I think a way to live this teaching, number 5, letting kids lead with their interests, it means like, look, this is about you and I want you to pick. So if you don't want to do lacrosse, that's okay.
Yeah.
I prefer it because you know how much I love it.
Right.
And I love watching you play. But what do you want to do? Do you want to do drama? Do you want to do like church youth group? Do you want to do piano?
Surf? How about
do you want to
surfing?
surf?
Yeah.
Do you want to,
snowboard?
you want to do airsoft? You got to do something because we're not going to sit around and just be couch potato.
Some of my favorite clips right now are on like Sports Center online on Instagram. People have probably seen it, but it's Tiger Woods and his son golfing.
Yeah, that's a cool story. Cool sport.
It's really cool.
Yeah, they're
and
matching
the
outfits.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, matching outfits. The son's doing something. The father's so excited about
it.
That is so cool.
It is. It's a good sport.
It's so cool.
He was such a mega star, Tiger Woods, and that drastic fall from fame with the drugs, the alcohol, the addictions, the womanizing, the sex addict. That guy blew his life up, and that guy was a loser. Like, that's hard to say, but he was the biggest winner of all time, and he was the biggest loser because he lost everything that was important to him. He lost his family. And now I guess he's maybe earning it back.
He's working its way back.
I hope so. I wish him the best.
So too. We don't know him.
We don't know him.
Invite him on the podcast.
Yeah. Tiger, come on.
Tell
us maybe I will. Like, what's your journey? Yeah, so here's the thing. Parenting trends from 2024. All right, here's what we did, a little recap as we wrap up today. First, I just want to give a shout out to a man who left a really warm message on Spotify. Actually, no, it wasn't a man. This is from Carrie Vaughn Hermert I. Thank you for writing us, Carrie. She says, thank you for this excellent episode. I enjoy your positivity and love that you bring to the show. I especially appreciate your personal stories and lessons that you share. It's truly a refreshing and helpful podcast with hope. I still have so much to learn in my own parenting style. Thank you, Carrie.
Don't we all, Carrie?
Please write us, leave us positive reviews, share our podcast with friends. So here's a couple trends that we can think about, and you can decide if you want to bring them into your life. Number 1, that balance of unstructured play. Number 2, lighthouse parenting. Number 3 is empathy and informed parenting. Number 4 is pulling back on sharenting. And number 5 is letting kids lead with their interests. Thanks for letting Jordan and I be a part of your lives. We love you. We're honored to be here. Keep loving your kids and leading.